Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm your host, Michael Andre Ford, American Angel Intuitive, here with Ariel Ford, the Ariel Ford, sister of Debbie Ford, also author of The Love Thief, her newest book. She has a bunch out, and you'll find the details below this video. We're super lucky to have her today from the La Jolla, San Diego area of California. Welcome, Ariel. Welcome to Angels, Positivity, and Love.
Hey, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. And you've got an extensive, amazing, both corporate career, public relations. You had the Ford Group. You've represented some of the superstars out there from the past in terms and the present in terms of spirituality, wellness, holistic pursuits. Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, I think, Don Miguel Ruiz, and many other superstar names. You yourself have pursued the same sort of path that they have. You've spent a lot of time in India, and that has influenced your latest book, The Love Thief. Can you tell us a little bit about your life path, but also where you've come today, kind of in full circle?
We don't have enough time for the whole story. I've had lots and lots of careers. These days I'm a writer and a storyteller, and that's what I enjoy doing most. And for the last 15 years, I've been focused on helping people find love, keep love, and be love. And prior to that, I spent years and years in the book world as a book publicist, as a literary agent, and as an author. And today I still read like crazy, and I have more time to read, which was, really a gift.
Okay, so how have you found yourself transformed over the years, whether it's from life itself, because it's got its bumps, its ebbs, its flows, from the career experience, which again, I'm public relations myself. I think I did 17 years in New York. I think I had 1,100 media interviews that I personally set up in a single year. So I get it. I was blackberrying back in the day, all hours of the night around the globe. But the corporate, it's like a furnace that can make you harder or at least more efficient, or you walk away with some sort of an impact on your psyche. It could be you seeking, you've gone to India a bunch, you've really enjoyed that country, that experience. Can you share with us how your personal path, your corporate path, and then your spiritual path, your life path itself, how has that evolved over time?
God, you ask really hard questions. I don't know that I can answer that exact question. What I can tell you is that I started off in corporate PR and big special events. And from the moment I decided to open a shop, I was very successful. People fell into my office and I never looked for business. And it was fantastic. I was making gobs of money until it was either 1990 or 91 when a recession hit Los Angeles, where I was living. And I have a college degree, but I don't have an MBA. So I didn't really know what a recession is or was. What happened was I lost 80% of my corporate clients in about 6 weeks because I was representing the #1 residential real estate firm, the #1 commercial real estate firm, art galleries on Rodeo Drive, the top luxury hotels in Beverly Hills. And they all disappeared. They all called me and said, "We love you. You're the best. And business has hit the wall. We can't afford you right now. We'll be back when the economy improves." So in 6 weeks, I went from, having, really like waves and rivers of money to having 6,000 square feet of Wilshire Boulevard office space and having to let go of my entire staff, except for one part-time person, and not understanding what was going on. Like, I didn't know how to fix the problem. I didn't understand the problem. And at the same time, my boyfriend and I broke up and I got Epstein-Barr. So I was screwed on every level. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. I was miserable, body, mind, spirit, soul, everything sucked. And what happened was I realized that I wasn't, at the end of the day, I liked the money, but I didn't like my clients. I didn't like the work that I was doing. It was soul-sucking work. And I thought, well, if I have to reinvent myself, I need to change careers. I just can't go back to, talking to travel editors at all the top magazines and coercing them into, giving them the presidential suite. You know what I'm talking about. And I was good at it, but I couldn't do it anymore. And so for approximately a year, I somehow managed to keep going, not knowing who I was or what I wanted to do. And then one day, my copy of Time magazine came in the mail. And on the cover of Time was the picture of planet Earth taken from space, the big blue planet. And when I looked at the planet, I had this light bulb moment. I was like, oh, if I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, then I only want to represent people, places, and things that are making our blue planet a better place to live. But of course, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what that looked like. I just had this sort of inkling of a direction. The next day, I went to lunch with a friend of mine, and he said to me, he asked me the best question in the world. He said, if you could represent anybody alive on the planet today, who would it be? And this is now 1991. And I said to him, I said, it's a man I'm sure you've never heard of. Nobody's pretty much ever heard of him. His name is Deepak Chopra, but I think he's going to be the next hot thing. And my friend said to me, well, not only have I heard of him, but my friend works for him. I could arrange for her to call you. Later that day, this woman calls me and she said, oh, how synchronistic. Dr. Chopra called me this morning and asked me to find him a publicist, and here you are. And he was living in Boston back then. I'm in Beverly Hills. She says, he's coming to town next week. I'll arrange a meeting. So the next week, I go to where the meeting's going to be, and he's 25 minutes late. And he comes rushing in and he says to me, he doesn't apologize for being late. All he says is, I've only got 5 minutes. And I said, that's fine. I only need 2. And he said, go. And I said, if you're as smart as I think you are, you'll hire me. And he said, deal. And that was the start of a 12-year business relationship. And to this day, we're still really good friends. And that's when I realized that there were other people whose books I was reading, including Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, blah, 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 blah. And they all became my clients. So I had this a completely reinvention of my skills, but representing people that were doing good things on the planet. So that was one career. And I did that straight through till a couple of years after 9/11, because right after 9/11, it became impossible to get media coverage around self-help and spirituality and mind, body, spirit health. Only, people wanted to talk about war. And I realized I had noticed that with all of these thought leaders that I was representing, I realized that I had a contract, a soul contract to represent them that we had made in between lives. And when the last person that I had a contract with, her name was Lynn Twist, she wrote The Soul of Money. After I worked with Lynn, I thought, you know what? I'm done. I could continue on, but I'm done. I completed all my contracts and I shut the business down overnight. Just with no plan B, because when I shut the business down, I put both my husband and I out of business. He was running the literary agency, I was running the PR firm, and I said, we're done with authors. And of course, that didn't stop the expenses from coming in, but I was done. And then at that point, I just thought, well, I'll just have to wait and see what's next. And then 2 weeks after that happened, I got a call from somebody I barely knew who said, I want to sit down and have a meeting with you. I have an idea for a business. It was Gay Hendricks. And Gay said, I want to start this thing called the Spiritual Cinema Circle. It's a DVD club, and we only send out movies about spirituality, consciousness, and health. And he goes, there's no upfront money. You'll be a partner and you'll have stock, but you'll work for free. Well, we started the business, and 90 days later, we had it up and running at a profit. And 3 years later, we sold it for a significant amount of money. So that was another career, right? And at the same time that was winding down, I had an internet product about how to meet your soulmate. And my sister's publisher, HarperCollins, saw it, made me a crazy big offer to turn my product into a book. And the book became an international bestseller. So now I'm on to this new career being a love and relationship and marriage expert. And that's what I've been doing for the last since 2007. I don't know how many years that is. I'm still suck at math, you know, and so that's how my life has been. It's not like I sat down and wrote a 5-year plan. I could have never done that because my imagination is not great enough to have invented a character like Deepak who was going to usher me into a new career. My imagination was never big enough to imagine that somebody I barely knew was going to turn me into a partner, into an incredible startup, you know. So I don't take credit for what I do. What I take credit for is that I'm really smart. I'm a hard worker. I'm a good student of love. I'm self-taught as an expert. It helped that I interviewed the world's 100 top experts and did a series called The Art of Love. So that's how my life goes. Now, this book, The Love Thief, I had written 11 nonfiction books. And I was, as far as I knew, I was done writing books. And then 5 years ago, I started to see a movie in my head, and I started to get lines for the book, and I got the title for the book. And I was like, no, 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 go away, go away. I'm not writing a book. I'm certainly not writing a novel. I don't know a thing about writing fiction. And there's no crossover between fiction and nonfiction as a skill. The only thing fiction and nonfiction have in common, the only thing, is that they both use words. That's it. So I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. And yet this book was inside of me, kicking and screaming to get out, insisting that I sit down and write this book. Magical things started to happen. Like I talked to God and I said, listen, God, I do not want to write this book. However, if I have to write this book, if it's meant to be that I write this book, then I need your help on one thing. I said, I can't write this book unless I go back to India to do more research. And for that, I need $7,000 for a business class airline ticket, which I don't have. 48 hours later, I had the ticket in my hand. And then I got to India. And from the moment I got to India, all the places in my head, the movie in my head, I walked into the spiritual bookstore. I walked into the ashram. I was walking down the street and a holy man came up to me and like had read my mind. So all this stuff happened. And that's what happens in my life. As long as I keep paying attention to the breadcrumbs and the clues and, you know, the inklings that sort of tweak my mind, then it happens. And so I can't tell you what's next because I don't know what's next. And I no longer have the ambition that I once had. I was a great publicist because I was really ambitious. And it's a good drug. And you're going to understand this. What I loved about my day is I would sit down, I would have 100 phone calls to make. I would call up my friend at People Magazine. I'd pitch him a story. He'd say, yes, I want to do that story. Send over the press kit. Instant dopamine hit, success. You know, I was booking a book tour for somebody. I had a book, 22 radio interviews. I'd start what I called smiling and dialing. Hey, Joe, remember last week you had Louise Hay on? I got somebody just as interesting for you this week. Great, Ariel, send everything over. So all day long, I'm getting dopamine hits because I'm booking. So I was a drug addict. I was a drug addict for results. I'm not like that anymore. I can't take the pressure of being responsible for getting stuff like that done anymore. Now, I pretty much don't have a to-do list. I have a few things like go to the drugstore, pick up your prescription. You promised to write a blurb for so-and-so's book. Go to the grocery store. And life is much simpler now because when something big does come up, it's like, oh, my schedule's pretty free. I can do that. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I got to where I am today.
You nailed it. And you were being modest because being open is one of your core skills, paying attention and also manifesting miracles. You're ready for them, whether you knew they were coming or not. So I could see a career for you on the side, not that you want any more work, but manifesting, miracle manifesting, paying attention, slowing down, encouraging people to let the universe do the work.
Well, I do teach that. So I'm actually taking a group of women to Italy in May, and we can take up to 40 to teach them how to manifest their soulmate using a beautiful villa in Tuscany as one location, a hotel on the Grand Canal in Venice as another. And I'm going to take them through the entire process to manifest the love of their life while we simultaneously learn to live the Italian bella figura lifestyle, how to live a life of beauty. So I'm doing that in May, which I am super excited about.
Nice. And for people who immediately want to jump on this, Ariel Ford, ARIELLE Ford.com. You'll find our website, but thelovethief.com, thelovethief.com is her book website. Okay. So connecting people, that's how I viewed the job for public relations. I always shot straight. I was doing corporate PR. I put people on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. I had a Business Week cover story. It was my biggest fish that got away. The summer of the Volkswagen. They reinvented the bug or something, but our story got put on hold for 7 weeks. It never ran. I did the Lehman crisis at one point. That was close to the end of my career 18 years later. I think I did 27 interviews in a day with the surviving Lehman folks. And I was averaging about 150 personally. I had outside agencies, had staff, but I was still doing the work. So I'll do the highlight. I was always creating positively and shooting straight, but I would call it matchmaking, an expert and a journalist on the other side. And I view the angel thing today. There's a human being, and then there's angels, their relatives, loving guides on the other side. And so in a way, I never left public relations. I like the connecting people today. So
Isn't
with that,
the most fun? I mean, for me, when I think about how much fun it is, because, I'll be talking to somebody, oh, I really need help with this. And then it's like the face of who they need pops into my head. It's like, oh, let me make one phone call. And one short phone call later, I've just connected them. And it's matchmaking. And I do that with my private clients as well. It's like, I can't find them, their life partner, but I can give them enough clues of who they need to be to make it happen.
so let's go to the big picture here. We'll ask it a couple different ways. We're going to get to your intuitiveness or your psychic skills or whatever you want to call your talent for pulling out of thin air and pointing the arrow or helping people feel empowered. But first, do angels exist? How big is the universe? Are we ever going to be able to grasp it? You tackle any one of these questions any which way, but there's thinking up top, and that's really where we block ourselves or limit ourselves. How do do angels exist?
Well, I've always believed that angels exist because when I was 7 years old, I was woken up in the middle of the night and I saw my grandfather sitting on the edge of my bed. And he said to me, he said, I'm going away and I'll always be with you. Don't be afraid. And then at that moment, he vanished. Then the phone rang, and then I heard my mother scream, and then the lights went on. And then sometime later, my father came in to say, oh, your mother's very upset. Grandpa Lou just died. And I said, oh, yes, I know, Daddy. He came to say goodbye. It was fine. And I wasn't at all afraid, So for me, that was normal. That was a normal thing, And then as I got older, I started to have memories of past lives, right? And that made sense to me. And then I went through a whole stage where I thought, a very big mistake was made. I was dropped off with the wrong family. These are not my people. Who are these lunatics that I'm living with? I'm not supposed to be here. And I was constantly searching for the mothership, like, come back. I felt like E.T. I need to go to my home planet. Now, I can't tell you what my home planet is, except that I've now finally come to the belief and the understanding that the universe is just a concept. It's not a place per se. And that life is like a submarine sandwich. It's all layered and there's lots of dimensions and it's all happening at once. And most of the time I like to stay wherever I believe my feet are. I like to stay grounded in this moment, present awareness. And simultaneously, there's 35 other Arielle Fords living in different time zones, in different dimensions, on different planets. And anything I do in this moment is vibrating and impacting when I'm on some planet way out there, or when I'm, shaking my booty in Brazil at, at Carnival or whatever. And it's all happening at once, which I think explains why I'm often very tired. I suddenly get exhausted because I'm in so many places at once, which is why my conscious effort is always to stay in the present moment, which is why I don't plan. People say to me, oh, well, what do you see yourself doing in a year? I never look there. I don't want to look there, because if I look there, I could limit myself. I could say, oh, well, 1 year from today, I'm going to be doing XYZ, which then puts up this big roadblock to whatever might be even more fun and better
Oof.
than that. So this whole like make a 5-year plan, I think is crazy and stupid, and I don't recommend it. And does it work? Yes. All this personal growth stuff works to a certain degree, but is it in your best interest? And I've come to believe that it is not. People spend a lot of time, especially now. So there's the whole self-love people, and then there's the whole trauma people, and they're totally focused on, I got to get better. And I have come to understand that I believe that we do plan certain lifetimes, that if you come in with a particular core wound, I think you're going to die with that core wound. What can be different is that you can learn to mitigate the pain and suffering of the core wound, and you can learn to live with it, as opposed to, I want to cut it out and never feel that again. And as long as I understand that I can have fun with my core wounds and I don't have to suffer from them. Or what I like to do is when I get triggered, I give myself 3 minutes. Like I turn on the stopwatch and just go, okay, for 3 minutes, you can really go down the rabbit hole, and you can suffer, and you can beat yourself up, and you can whine, bitch, and moan. And when it's over, I need you to let it go stand in front of a mirror, and then speak really loving affirmations to yourself, because you're not that. You just happen to have decided that you were going to pick that up for this lifetime, and now you can just put it down and let it go. So that's sort of my core beliefs these days, is like, quit trying to fix yourself so much. Just, this is who you are. Can you love yourself? And the other piece of this is, and I get this a lot with my clients that are so desperate to find love and a partnership, and they all say to me, oh, well, when I lose 20 pounds, or when I'm done with this kind of therapy, or when this happens, then I'll be ready for love. And my answer is always, you're out of your effing mind. Okay? Because you're never going to be better. What will heal you faster than anything can heal you is to go and make yourself open, willing, and available to your life partner. Because when you can see the love they have for you coming through their eyes, that's when you have this quick ascension into healing, because somebody's loving you for exactly who you are. And that's all we all want. We want to be loved and accepted for who we are, not for who we could be if we lost 20 pounds. Because the truth is, I don't care what diet you go on. Everybody loses the weight, and then they gain it back plus more. That happens all the time. And so to think that you're going to be more lovable later is just nonsense.
If you were to slip into everybody's shoes out there, not all at once, but just everyone has to go through their day. They've got a lot of thoughts. It's what you just talked about. They have a lot of resistance to just being in love and so on. And you mentioned going in front of the mirror after your 3-minute timeout. If you don't mind, can you slip into their roles and just give some basic reminders on how to pump the brakes a little when they get too up here, how to enjoy the moment more?
Well, first, I think you have to really suffer. So let's say, yeah, no, that's why you give yourself 3 minutes. So, let's say you're lonely and afraid that you're never going to be loved. So what I would coach them to do is to say, yes, it's true. I am the most unlovable human being God ever created. I am ugly. I'm disgusting. I am boring. Nobody could possibly want me. And if you do this with full attention, you can't do it for 3 minutes, because you will start laughing, because the sane part of you is going to go, that's not true. But what you've done is you've let the pressure off. right? You've taken lid off, you've let the pressure off. You know, you have voiced all your fears. I'm old, fat, ugly, unappealing, stupid. Who would ever want me? I'm such a loser. I've been divorced 3 times. Okay, so you do that till you get to the point where you laugh, and then you stand in front of the mirror, and then you just blow yourself kisses. You know what? I love you just the way you are. You're good enough for me. I'm always here for you. And it takes practice, you know, and most people don't want to do it, you know, because most people, including myself, we're lazy. We want someone to do it for us. We want the pill, we want the mantra, we want the book, you know, and it's all an inside job. You just have to like go, there's a divine part of me, and I'm, even if I don't love the way I look and I don't love this about me, I can still love my internal divine self, or as you like to call her, Audrey Hepburn.
Well, speaking of which, I'd love to bring an angel named Joy, Charlotte. People watching the show know this, or they're watching the panels. But I'm going to light some sage first. If you're ready for it in California, we did this before the show. We know it worked. And for those who haven't done this before, just give yourself permission to let go. Your heart knows what to do. It's getting out of your own way, as Ariel just reminded us. I'm going to light some sage. And this is that Juniper Ridge Sage California company. It may still be at all the Whole Foods. It used to be $2 a bundle. I'm sure it's closer to 19 or 20. Blame inflation and blame modern day prices. But either way, it's pretty good sage. So I'm not sponsored or anything. Here's a little bit of sage. You can catch the smoke. I did this on 42 shows in the last year for show hosts, New Zealand, Australia, Germany, and so on. Catch what you can catch. But it's also what she's pointing out and what she teaches, which is you can allow for more. Why settle for just sage smoke? Get some flowers, get some sort of extra scent that rocks your world. And it's almost getting out of your way of knowing that precludes possibility, and just let your heart and angels in the universe, and Ariel's got all the words for this, go for broke. Except I think there's a better expression. Maybe go for broke for the first 3 minutes.
How about go for gold?
Yeah, and when you were saying all that, I was laughing because on a run, once in a while I'll say I'm not worth 340 million, so that I'm laughing hysterically about my net worth. Because you can't say anything too seriously if you do the not. You just know it's not true either. Okay, so Ariel, are you catching a little bit of sage smoke in La Jolla, San Diego? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And then what can you share about, we did a little bit before the show. I'll put Joy's photos up. Anything you want to share about that ahead of time? We were just making sure our sensitivity was working. How about that?
You know, it was all so new to me, what you do and how you do it, that I was just trying to keep up with you. You know, definitely, I love that you are making manifest something as ethereal as angels, and that, you know, you can put a face on it, as we do in PR. That's our job. Exactly. The only way we sell anything is to put a face on it, and that's exactly what you've done.
Well, if we'll only do a couple angels, Audrey Hepburn, and then you can pick one more figure if you want. We'll make it pretty quick here. But you've got Joy, the very first angel, communicator, ambassador. She's the emotion joy. If you don't mind asking a private question, or how about this, getting something that you can just get a reminder to share with us all, back to your message of love for us all.
Yes, I do actually. So hold up the cover of my book again.
Sure.
I want everybody to take a good look at it. Okay, so see that beautiful woman?
Yes.
On the cover, right? Okay, so you'll hold it back up in a second after I tell you this story. So a few weeks before the book came out, I got an email from a woman that I didn't know, who said to me, she said, "You and I have a mutual friend named Tatiana." And I'm thinking, I don't know anybody named Tatiana. And she said, and Tatiana showed me thelovethief.com. And I want you to know that I'm the woman on the cover of your book. And your book tells my story of heartbreak from a toxic narcissist. She said, look at the picture that I've attached to this email. And this is the picture. Attached. This is the picture she attached to the email. And that's Rishikesh, India, where the story takes place. So as soon as I read the email. I forwarded it to my book cover designer. It's like, Laura, tell me how this cover came in. Like, how did this cover come to be? And she said, well, you hired me. And she said, I did a search of all the photo databases I licensed from, and I put in yoga plus Rishikesh, and that image that's attached is what came up. She said, I properly licensed the image, and then you hold the cover back up. She goes, and then I turned it into this illustration. I said, great. I just wanted to make sure we didn't steal the image, that it was all right. So then I write back to this woman whose name is Monia. And I said to her, well, I couldn't be more thrilled to meet you. There are 8 billion people on the planet. What are the odds that we're connecting on this level? Tell me more about, because she hadn't read my book yet. She just read the description. You know, what were you doing in Rishikesh? And she said that she had had her heart broken by her fiance, by a toxic narcissist, and she went to take a yoga teacher training in Rishikesh to heal her heart. And I said, this is so crazy. You really are my cover girl. Your story really is in my book. So, you know, who could have guessed that this would happen? But that's the kind of stuff that happened with the Love Thief. You know, I got chosen to put this on paper. I read the book and I was like, where did this story come from? And yet I'm so thrilled that it happened. So, you know, how do you explain that? I don't know. Oh, the other thing that happened is on the day that I did a Zoom call with Monia, my tech guy, Steve, was here fixing a computer. And I said to her, well, Monia, where do you live now? And what country was she in? Oh God, I'm just blanking out on the country. So she names this very small Eastern European country that she lives in. And Steve pops up. He says, I have a meeting there next week. I'll take her a copy of the book.
Oh my God, that's the best.
Like, who knew? I wish I could remember the country, but it's one of the really small, formerly Russia, Eastern European country. So who knows? Like, all I know is that I could be willful, which I was most of my life, you know, oh, I want this. I'll go get it. I'll manifest it. I'll make it happen. I don't do that anymore. I just know and trust that as long as I stay open and receptive, things beyond my imagination that will totally delight me will fall into my lap, and I don't get to choose the time. I don't have to make the time frame. I just have to be there ready to catch.
It's a total grand slam. And if you don't mind, angels are laughing. Audrey Hepburn's an angel. Charlotte, if you don't mind just getting a lot of, yeah, you just said it, but how they chime in. I think there's a lot of laughter, a lot of love, a lot of support. But can you echo what they're throwing in something else in addition to that? Another reminder for us all, sort of what she said. But can you say?
Well, she's singing a song from My Fair Lady, basically by George. She's got it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And do you have a figure? Can I put up Sai Baba from India, the one from 100+ years ago? And we'll wrap that up as well. But anybody at home, if they're really gung-ho, or whatever the expression is, letting go extra, opening openness, being here, you can catch the sun of India, the highest vibration version, whether it's the ocean there or more the jungles. Here's again, Sai Baba, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba from India. You can ask a question, you can listen, it'll sound like your voice, but the second you let go, you can hear his. What will you allow for is my question for everybody. Allow for more fun. And Ariel, what are you getting for us all?
You know, I just am feeling and sensing waves of peace and compassion. That it's more about taking in the feeling of peace and compassion as opposed to trying to use the mind.
And that was probably the best advice of all. You are welcome to come back on in 2024 anytime you wish. We'll do a little more time probably then. I know you still, no matter how much you're not trying to have a busy schedule, you have a busy schedule. But I very much have appreciated you coming on and talking about your experiences. You shared a lot, actually. The Love Thief, Ariel Ford. And thank you so much for coming on Angels, Positivity, and Love.
Thank you. Thank you.